time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument needed. Of the nation must be started. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and its crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? We all say it is in different tones.
No, you don't say that line. Let's keep going, but you don't say that line. We're gonna all say it in different tones, so I think the first line. What to the American slave is the 4th of July?
What is our Independence Day? Without freedom, justice, and equality.
The 4th of July is yours, not mine.
You may rejoice, I must mourn.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
The American slave speaks, a day that reveals more than all other days, the injustice, the cruelty, the constant burden carried in silence. To him, your celebration is a sham. You boasted liberty in unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Politics where history repeats. The government stays the same as it always does. Poverty echoes through the decades, a language unchanged. The syllables of survival shifting hands from slave to citizen. Mortgage past due, shut-off notices, no health insurance, yet the weight remains the same. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality, hall of mockery. Poverty, it means the same to everyone, yet the standards depend on how you look at wealth. Too poor enough to need, but not poor enough to receive. The labor through nights, to rise through mornings, to cling, to promise, then as a paper. Folding beneath bureaucracy's weight. The American dream, a tightrope threaded with catch-22 decisions. The rich die young, the poor child die trying. History turns over its shoulder, only to cast the same shadows. Government voting for a voice, empty promises, changes made not in the best interest of family. Did you hear democracy, a chessboard arranged for kings while pawns bleed and wait for change. No one asks what we need. No one hears our hunger. Only the sound of empty promises made for the best interests of the people. What people? Whose people? Did they ask who? Because no one asked me. We speak but are not heard. We fight but are not seen. We live but are just barely. And yet we trudge forward. Because that's the only thing we know. To rise, to breathe, to exist. Under oppression, steady hand, under poverty's unrelenting steers, under the weight of history repeating.
Yo, had I the apple-fed warm, and I could reach the devil's impish ear, I would, today, pour out a fiery stream, finding ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke.
Droves move tardily. Heat to sorrow have nearly consumed their strength. Suddenly you hear a quick snap, like the discharge of a rifle, the feathers clank and the chains rattle simultaneously. Your ears are saluted by a scream that seems to have torn its way to the center of your soul. The crack you heard was the sound of the slave whip. The scream you heard was from the woman you saw with a babe. Her speed had faltered under the weight of her child and her chains. The gash on her shoulders tells her to move on. Follow this drove to New Orleans. Attend the auction. See men examined like horses. See the forms of women brutally exposed to the shocking gaze of American slave buyers. See this drove sold and separated forever, and never forget the deep, sad sobs that arose from the scattered multitude. Tell these citizens where, under the sun, you can witness a spectacle more fiendish and shocking. Yet this is but a glance of the American slave trade as it exists at this moment in the ruling part of this United States. I was born amidst such sights and scenes. In the deep still darkness of midnight, I have been often aroused by the dead heavy footsteps and the piteous cries of the chain gangs that passed our door. The anguish of my boyish heart was intense. Fellow citizens, this murderous traffic is today an active operation in this boasted republic. In the solitude of my spirit, I see clouds of dust raised on the highways of the South. I see the bleeding footsteps. I hear the doleful wail of fettered humanity on the way to the slave markets where the victims are to be sold like horses, sheep, swine, knocked off to the highest bidder. There I see the tenderest ties ruthlessly broken, to gratify the lust, caprice, and rhapsody of the buyer and sellers of men. My soul sickens at the sight. The church of this country has made itself the bulwark of American slavery. It stripped the love of God of its beauty and leave the throne of religion a huge, horrible, repulsive fall. It is a religion of oppressors, tyrants, man-stealers, thugs. You pride yourself on your democratic institutions while you yourself consent to be the mere tools and bodyguards of the tyrants of Virginia, Carolina. You invite your shores, fugitives of oppression from abroad, honor them and pour out your money to them like order, but the fugitives from your own land you advertise, hunt, arrest, shoot, and kill. You glory in your refinement, in your universal education, and you maintain a system of barbarous and dreadful as ever stained in character of a nation. A system begun in avarice, supported in pride, and perpetuated in cruelty.
Let's stop judgment based on race, resistance.
Peep game. The American institutions of foreign invasion, captivity, human trafficking, and forced labor. Eurasian domination through terror and deceit, sustained by Jewish banksters, British politics, and the religion of Euro-Christianity, where you will see African men and African women reared like swine for the butcher shop. You know what is a swine drover? Well, I will show you a human drover, a butcher of African flesh and bone. They inhabit all of the southern states and many of the northern ones too. They traverse the country and crowd the highways of the nation with droves of human stock, African bodies. You will see the one of these human flesh wholesalers, the real gangsters armed with pistol, whip, and bowie knife, driving a herd of 100 men, women, and children from the Potomac to the flesh market at New Orleans. These mothers and fathers of civilization are to be sold singly or in lots like cattle. Evil purchasers. They are food for the cotton field and the rice paddies and the tobacco farms and the deadly sugar. Observe the anguished procession as it moves wearily along like a serpent choking the globe, and the inhuman wretch, pale-faced devil who drives them. Hear his savage yells and his blood-chilling oaths as he hurries on the abused and traumatized captives. There, see the accomplished elder with locks thinned and gray. Cast one glance, if you please, upon the young mother whose shoulders are bare to the scorching sun's rise. Her briny tears fall on the brow of the baby in her arms. See to that girl of only 13 years old, weeping, yes, weeping, as she thinks of the mother from whose arms she has been torn.
Hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And yet you hold securely in a bondage a seventh part of the inhibitions of your country.
Read on. most resistance. A life built on codependence, being underrepresented in this corporation we call United States of America. The misrepresentation of entire people. The slaves, no, the African American we're now called. Or will we ever be free? Will we ever achieve the rights of freedom, justice, and equality? Let's not speak on what the 4th of July is to be. Let's speak on what the 4th of July will never be. July, something like injustice. Oh, let's not speak on the injustice and the mistreatment, even me, completely speechless. United? United like what? The states or the stars? No, like the people or the land that keeps most of my people that resemble me behind bars. The land of the free and the home of the who? Brave? Well, who are the most bravest other than the ones who can't tell their story of being displaced, being disregarded, living in a life of illusions of the rights and freedoms of us all, culture and race, and replaced with lies, told of who you are. Building a country, no, building a nation while being shot, killed, knees in your necks. Fred Hampton, don't be mistaken. Black power is black truth. Black Panther Party, that was the self-defense campaign, feeding the hungry and educating our babies. Don't denounce the same ones being misused, forgotten, being discredited, being underrepresented. Lives being taken so young, some never reached the legal age to purchase liquid sedatives. Or can we call this ununited, understated, abused maltreatment and executors? They're just rude and ignorant, cruel aggressors. No, anarchy, a misrepresented, never equality, rights taken, intelligence demeanor, cruelty, and abuses of so many. I mean, that's the America I know. That's what I think of this National Independence Day. Not the laws that are being divisions amongst so many people because of their color, their creed, and their religion. But liberty for all. The liberty for who? Not for me. Maybe for you, but not for all. Freedom hasn't been afforded to those that walk with infused melanin like mine. This tight skin, the most expensive mineral, our birthright. We were chosen. Do we have the right to seek life, liberty, in the pursuit of happiness? When you really think about it, I mean, were we ever given the walk to the red carpet of life's guarantees such as this? Don't ask me to speak on. Just don't ask me to speak. Don't ask me here with the idea of being entertained of what you see. Don't look for a step infection. Look for a freedom, a Frederick in me. Look for a freedom seeker like he. Stand up for rights and freedoms that's afforded to you. For in the future, you will be the Frederick too. Painted in pictures for the whole world to see. Do we know who we really be? Our power vested in words, that is what makes us free. The umbrella of what life truly means. Rejoice, recite, remember your names, your life, your ancestors' pain. Forgive, yet don't forget. Sankofa, look into your past, so your future has more light and more truth. This is a poetic truth. Frederick Douglass reimagined. These words, I speak to you. Woo.
We are the women of the Black African American culture that has sustained. They try to label us, beat us out of our identity, our sense of self. We've been through the myrrh, the murky waters. It's through our perseverance, the beauty and strength that we lift up our black man, our black family, our black culture, our black community. Put us on the throne. Put us on those high pedestals. Even in the midst of how they bear the lash on us. Oh, we stand before you on the backs of the strong, courageous, undefined
by his very own words. He has been invoked by his own words that we have now recited as a prayer, as a hymn, as a blessing, and as a curse to our adversaries. He is welcomed into the very space that we inhabit now, right now, in this moment. And he is asking us not just what to the captive is the 4th of July, but also today he asks us very poignantly, what to the African is dreaming of a white Christmas.
There are two issues. Society is within the state of your mind. Mind is in a state of confusion. They are fusing hatchback conviction, creating illusion and blatant contradiction to just blow smoke, mirrors, and magic. It's arrogant vibes inside. Slipping into darkness. Hearts. And if you listen, you'll hear what really happened. You see, dead men tell no tales, so they leave no witnesses. And they can't be tried for crimes against humanity in their own house of representatives. Exactly. Legislature, judicial. Congress is divided along party lines. The Senate was created in their own image, majority white. Supreme Court keeps our eyes on the prize in search of mere civil rights. The lazy Jews, he never lied when he said, quote, black justice is a blind, goddess is a fact in which we black or wise or bandits hides to festering swords that once perhaps were eyes, end quote. So tell me, how can one rise if their knees are constantly bent, repenting for sins they have yet to commit, literally scared up as hell? Well versed in reversing the King James version of events, ironically inclined to spit rhymes freestyle. The most beautiful minds are declining classes in mathematics, science, and Latin, but they diligently battle-ready themselves to lay down law, rapping. They're content with living comfortably, literally unable to read the small print on budget documents drafted by rich, white, slave-owning men who hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are not created equal. Look under the surface, all of men see we were just refusing plan for census and tax purposes. There are too many secrets of society sleeping. The end of the state of your mind. Wake up.
Peace, y'all. I'm very apologetic that I was not able to be here in the flesh with you all today. But nonetheless, I'm definitely there in spirit. And I know that Ancestor Frederick Douglas' spirit is here with us as well. In terms of how it made me feel rewriting my part of the speech, well, I feel like history is cyclical, and it repeats itself. If we're not careful, it will continue to repeat itself in a negative form and fashion for our people. And so rewriting this makes me not only feel like we are living history and therefore being a part of something that was in the past that's now being brought to the present and will hopefully stay on our conscious minds for the future. But I think of it also as like cycle fire. You have to go back and fetch that which was lost along the way, and then you must bring it forward. And that's what we're doing here today. That's what we have done here today, and that's how I felt rewriting my piece of this very historic and timely piece, which is still very relevant, but written all that time ago by ancestor Frederick Douglass, that we are living this history and it's still relevant today, and we still must realize that these things repeat themselves, and so this is still important for us to discuss.
Rewriting this for me as a poet, an orator, coming from orators for generations in my family, we have been taught to be entrepreneurs, to be free enterprise, to be our own leader, to head our own household, to feed our own family, to clothe our own children, and to surely educate our babies ourselves at home for schools. Schools were only made to prepare little white boys for the workplace, and we know our brown babies are up against the most. And as a young black woman, I knew that being a part of this very historical piece would not only help me understand my position, but also allow me to understand the position of the black family, the black community, and the entire world. So take your place, hold your positions, and definitely armor up, because this stage that we are in is definitely at its turn for the cycle. So do we want the repetition of slavery, or do we want to be free men and women? Ask yourselves, do you ever want to be free?
Personally, in reimagining with Frederick Douglass, I'm reminded of one of his quotes. He said, quote, "Power concedes nothing without a demand, never has, and never will." I've always prided myself on being not only a poet, but a person in my community who would always dare to speak truth to power when necessary. I'm never silent, I'm unapologetically black every day of my life, not just in February. It's a whole vibe for me. It's a whole vibe for me. It's a lifestyle for me. So this right here was just a continuation of how I live every day. You know, Frederick Douglass is in my spirit. Fred Henderson is in my spirit. Elijah Shabazz is in my spirit. Rihanna is in my spirit. You know, Tyreek is in my spirit. Every black man that was lynched in any conceivable way, black woman that was lynched in any conceivable way is in my spirit. So when I speak to you, I speak with their voices because they can't speak for themselves.
The reimagining of Sir Frederick Douglass is just a reminder of all the things that my ancestors, who I stand on the shoulders of, the ones that could not read and write and they had to make an X to validate their signature. I am that of which I stand on, and I will be able to give this to my children, and my children can give it to their children, and their children can give it to their children, because we come from all of the generations that had to be stolen and whipped and raped and just dehumanized. So we are reimagining what it is that we stand on in this 2025. We are those that will not be silent. We will pursue the liberty of our humanness take it with us into eternity.
So for me, history is not my thing. So when Michelle tells me to step up, that's when I start getting educated. For me, I still feel like I wear those invisible chains no matter what. Although slavery and black lives and all that is not my biggest and first impact, it's being a woman and a mother first. My piece actually resonated with me because I still feel like I'm one of these times.
So, how do you picture Frederick Douglass today in this day and time? I mean, what would he have to say?
In terms of how I picture ancestor Frederick Douglass in this day and time, I think that were he still alive in physical flesh today, he would not bite his tongue, and that he would be speaking upon many of the things that a lot of us are thinking but are either too afraid to say or are fear of being canceled for saying certain things. We live in in terms of how I picture ancestor Frederick Douglass in this day and time, I think that were he still alive in physical flesh today, he would not bite his tongue, and that he would be speaking upon many of the things that a lot of us are thinking but are either too afraid to say or are fear of being canceled for saying certain things. We live in a very interesting geopolitical climate in that there are certain topics and subjects that even 30 years ago could be talked about, but that have been wiped off the table that can no longer be talked about today for fear of being canceled, for fear of not seeing progressive, for fear of being a hater, fear of not being tolerant or accepting. But as a wise man once told me, and I believe Frederick Douglass would say a similar thing if he were still alive to this day, that it's important to keep an open mind, but not so open that you allow anything to crawl into it. And then I'll also combine that with the Yoruba proverb that says, our ancestors never worshipped an orisha or a spirit of this kind. And that's kind of a sarcastic way of saying that many of the actions and behaviors that are deemed normal amongst our people today would have never been tolerated in the past. So had Frederick Douglass still been alive today, I think he would speak the bitter truth about many of these things that so many of us are either afraid to talk about or maybe don't even think is relevant. Lastly, I think what he would say today is he would warn us, very sternly, he would warn us that if we're not careful, and if we don't make some serious changes, that we're going to be recaptured and recolonized all over again. But this time, maybe not in the physical sense, but in the virtual sense, in the digital sense. And that has to do with technocracy and transhumanism. If you're unfamiliar with those words, and I urge you to look those two terms up. Technocracy and transhumanism. I think if Frederick Douglass were alive today, he would be warning us about those. Because we are very much at risk at being recaptured in a digital sense and recolonized in a virtual sense.
about the politics or the government or the next check, lined up in every city and every state, rallying, rioting, setting up shop. I see Frederick Douglass as our teenage boys and our teenage girls hanging on the corner, not knowing what to do, but Frederick Douglass would lead them down the path of freedom, for they thought they were free. They were able to walk freely and talk as much as they choose, but real freedom comes in power, and we don't control anything. We don't own land, we don't own homes, we don't own ourselves. We are being driven like cars driven by Elon Musk by themselves. Wake up, open your eyes, and please understand that Frederick Douglass here today is you, and you have the right to speak up. Stand up, change what you see going on in the world today. You got the power.
In my opinion, Frederick Douglass is really all the time. Never died. We like to think of history as things in the past, things in the books, and all those heroes. They like heroes, Malcolm X, Dr. King, and all that. But you have to understand they lived in a time and a place, and we was just surrounded. Alright? But we have Malcolm X's and Dr. King's here, but we don't recognize that they'll be wrote about people 100 years from now. We're talking about the Mel Kings. They'll be talking about the former Mayor James. They'll be talking about the Mrs. Walters. They'll be talking about the Mrs. Stinsons. They'll be talking about the Tony Roses and the Black Light Crystals that stood up and said something and spoke truth to power. It's time. I gotta go.
They'll be speaking of the band Adriano Perez Trio, making music to your ears, sounds to your mouths for what's words without music behind you?
Everyone is equal, and we are to be treated as such. There is no man or woman that should be greater than themselves. We are the generations that have to create and recreate and let them know that we are a force to be reckoned with, and we will not go undefeated.
terms of the question, are we free? I would say no. We're most certainly not free. We think we're free. We convinced ourselves that we're free. We've been told that we're free. But in reality, we hardly own any land. We don't even have our own grocery stores. We're not growing our own food, so we're dependent on other people for our food. We do not manufacture any of our own medicines to be able to heal our people. We're not adequately equipped to defend our people, let alone be able to even defend half of us, our individual selves. Freedom means that we have a nation, in my mind, or that at least we have arable land that we could grow our own food on. Then again, we also would have to defend that, adequately defend that. Without very basic things, food, clothing, shelter, one cannot have the higher things that are needed in order to thrive in this life, like freedom, justice, equality, like food, clothing, shelter, like love, peace, and happiness. And so, going back to the beginning, in terms of the 12 rules, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding need to be had. Unless and until we have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we're not going to be able to even get to freedom, justice, or equality. And therefore, without freedom, justice, and equality, we will not be able to even have food, clothing, shelter adequately. And that means produced by us, for us. Instead of having to depend on other people for these things. Unless and until we can do these things ourselves. As ancestor John Henry Clark said, we don't even manufacture our own underwear. And that unless and until we manufacture everything from toothpicks to telephone poles, we are not free. Unfortunately, we are not free. We think we're free because we're given these little plastic cards that we can charge purchases. Now that has become a new form of captivity for our people. Economic debt-based captivity. And so just because we have these little plastic cards that we can swipe or tap or insert doesn't mean that we're free. But that, I believe very strongly that we were given that to fool us into thinking that we're free because we supposedly have this purchasing power. But again, unless and until we grow our own food, we manufacture our own clothing, we are able to create and make our own healthy medicine to be able to heal our people, mind, body, and soul, holistically, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And unless and until we're able to adequately defend ourselves from those who are trying to take what we build, then we are not free.
If freedom was a dream, we'd be walking on land that we own, and our children will be creating and making all that we need by hand. Woodworking, working on the stoves and the kitchens. I mean, we'd be building our own cars. There'd be no Ford, there'd be no Audi. We would be the names. We would be the brand. We would be the soul creators, the soul makers, for we are the original people. We are man, woman, and child. So freedom, let's seek freedom daily. Let's seek freedom now. Let's have the freedom we need.
Simply put, no, we're not free.
No freedom, no justice, no equality. With that being said, we came here today to celebrate the speech of Frederick Douglass,